Welcome to this week's episode of ADH Tea, the podcast, with me, Donna, the tea pioneer in the north of Scotland and tea sorcerer for Unravel Tea,
and me, Sarah, waiting mama, intuitive empowerment coach, author, speaker, and disabled mum to 3.5 kids. And I am super excited to introduce our very special guest this week, Greg Fearon. And Greg is an incredible human being who's helped me immeasurably. But to give him his proper introduction, he helps ambitious women create a body that makes them feel like $1 million. And I can definitely subscribe to that because he's helped me hugely. And I kind of, in a way, slightly attribute, and this is going to sound weird, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think the work that I did with Greg is a huge portion of the reason why I'm sitting here today pregnant. So
the information shared in this podcast is lived experience and personal opinion. It does not constitute nor replace medical advice. ADH Tea, the podcast, are in no way legally responsible for any actions taken by anyone as a result of listening. The views expressed by any guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of Sarah or Donna.
Thank you so much, Greg, for joining us. It's a
My pleasure.
to have you here.
What a testimonial to start with.
That's it. I don't need to talk anymore now. That's it. That's it.
And we'll put all of Greg's links in the show notes. Okay.
That's it. Bye. Thanks.
Sarah, what is in your cup and what is on your mind today?
In my cup today, Donna, is the lovely Siren's Clarity for its deliciousness and anti-inflammatory properties again. And what's on my mind, I'm just super excited for this conversation because I feel like I've been gatekeeping Greg's expertise. So I'm just super excited to be able to share with everybody now, so everybody else sees how fabulous he is. What's on your mind and what's in your cup, Donna?
So in my cup today is white tea. And I'm going to show it to you, but nobody can see it, so I'll have to post it somewhere. It is a little square of pressed white tea, and yeah, it's amazing. It's called Haunting White because one of my friends, she told me that she didn't like white teas, so I took it upon myself to prove her wrong, and she said that this tea haunts her dreams.
In a good way or a bad way?
In a very good way.
Okay. Nice.
Yes. And what's on my mind? Yeah, I'm just excited about today's conversation. Greg, what is in your cup, if you have a cup, and what's on your mind today?
I have a cup. It's a Star Wars cup, and it's is mint tea.
Oh.
That was the last drink I had. So yeah. What's in my mind? Oh, there's a whole lot of stuff on my mind right now. Well, one is, yes, having this conversation. I think that conversation with Sarah really sticks out in my mind for many reasons. And yeah, to be able to just come and share and have conversations with people today. So yeah, that's what's on my mind.
So again, Greg, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here. So if you would like to just give the listeners a little bit more background on you and what it is you do.
Yeah, so I'm Greg Fearon, as the ladies have mentioned. I'm always trying to understand what my label is, but I guess ultimately I do nutrition, mindset, fitness, coaching for women who want to feel awesome. How I got started with working with women is very simply this. Growing up, I watched my mum and my sisters really struggle with their weight and their health, but they would never allow me to help them because I was just the brother, just the son. And they would come to me and say, Greg, what diet should I have? And I'd be like, well, this is what you should do. And they would go on Google and it would be some absolutely awful advice. And that really used to frustrate me. So I did have a career in like leadership and management and stuff, and that helped me understand people. But in the background, I would also be doing nutrition, fitness coaching for women who just were fed up, didn't know what to do right to get healthy and feel amazing. So that's how we've ended up here.
I love your background story so much. It's brilliant. Coming from a real desire to help the people that you love and then helping so many more people as well. Do you have much experience, or would you say that people with ADHD or neurodiverse women would gravitate towards you more? Or
so it's been really interesting. I guess like a lot of people, I've probably really only kind of really seen the neurodiverse thing happened in the last few years. Like it was probably there, and I just never realized it. And I hope I don't offend anybody with this statement, but I kind of feel like we're all on a spectrum anyway, right? I think all these kind of standardized, oh, you're this and you're that. Eventually, I think someone's always on a spectrum somewhere. But I think I've always just gone, let me understand the person. Because from my understanding, things like ADHD you might have a similar set of kind of characteristics, symptoms, whatever, but everyone presents slightly differently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as I'm concerned, I'm like, right, who is the person that I'm dealing with? What is it about them that I try to look at? So I've got a few clients who are neurodiverse right now. I've got one that's got dyspraxia, there's ADD, ADHD, and I wouldn't say I do anything special. I just try and treat the individual person as they present.
Well, what I'm hearing there is you work quite intuitively, and it's kind of a very personalized experience. And obviously, I've been fortunate enough to experience that. And for sure, like I was saying to Donna actually before you joined us, it's like you were listening and you were really open and really warm, and I felt really safe to just share everything with you. And then it was like you said to me, like, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but what you're actually saying is this, and you can almost see through the crap, see through the BS, and get to the root of what's actually going on. And that's a real skill that, dare I say, and I probably will offend with this, but I'm going to say it anyway. A lot of men don't have the ability to cut through that and say that, or actually hear it, what's really going on underneath. So it's amazing.
That might be one of the reasons why like neurodiverse women actually come to you though. You're not sort of looking at everything on surface level. You are listening properly and doing, intuitively treating, I suppose, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I think I'll tell you how I think I got to where I am now, especially. Do you remember Dear Deirdre in the Sun newspaper?
Yes. Yeah.
Weirdly, I used to read that column religiously. I would always read problem pages because I was wanting to understand human behavior and just understand how people worked. And that was my first insight into like understanding. So I'd see what people would write in. They'd be like, oh, I hate my husband. And I'd be like, but what's really going on underneath that? Like, what is it about the whole thing? And I try and take a step back and I'd go and I'd write sometimes my own little analysis of it. And then I found people at school would come in, at high school especially, would come and talk to me and be like, oh, Greg, I've got this going on in my relationship. And I'd be like, well, I don't think it's this. I think it's actually that. Go and do this and stuff. And so I guess it's been a natural evolution for me to just sit back, watch, observe, ask the right question. I generally find if you ask the right questions, it will come out eventually, but you have to give people space to do that.
Yeah, for sure. I noticed that a lot in our session. Like I was doing most of the talking. You asked the question, and then I would say, yeah, this, and then like you helped me to come to the realization myself. And that probably one of the most pivotal moments in the whole thing for me was when you were like, it's not about what you're eating, it's the fact that you're not actually sleeping that's causing most of these issues. Sleep, and I mean, Donna will probably concur with this. Sleep as a neurodiverse 40 something female is a bit of a unicorn, or can be, or was for me.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you say in terms of the detrimental impact that sleep and lack of sleep has on the clients that you see?
So I'd say this. I'd say most of my clients come to me initially because they're like, Greg, I want to lose weight. Like I need to shift the belly fat, all of the things that get said, right? And I guarantee, yes, the nutrition has an impact, right? But you ladies are all smart. You all know what to eat. Like your mum told you to eat broccoli when you were younger. So you know that. You know that. You know what the good things to eat. What I find is that most of the women that come to me are underslept. There is a thing that for a lot of women, you try to do too much. You're busy supporting everybody. You right there, Donna? Is that you?
Yeah. Are you calling me out here?
I am with love, of course. Yeah, you're busy helping everybody. And a lot of the thing is as well, identity is rooted in helping everyone, supporting everyone. I'm a good person if I'm the good Samaritan to everybody and their dog. Leaves you last, leaves you washing dishes at 10 o'clock when the dishes don't even need to be done. But you've grown up with that. You may have seen parents do it, you see friends do it. I once asked a client, she said, "Oh, I clean my house every day." And I said, "Is the Queen coming to see you?" She's like, "No." I was like, well, what do you need to clean it for every day? Like, does your husband and your kids, do they walk around looking at the speck of dirt? And she was like, "No." I was like, "Well, who are you cleaning for?" And she said it was because she watched her mum do it all the time. So we take on all of these identities and it leaves you guys not rested, tired the next day. So consequently, your hormones are all over the place the next day. So of course you eat more. You can't concentrate. You're looking for energy. So it's like, I need that chocolate bar after this Zoom call because it will give me the energy I need.
Mhm.
But it comes down to generally, if I can get someone to sleep right, they will eat right.
It's also interesting because I am completely the other side of that. I forget to eat and I don't eat. But I suppose that could just be the same thing, but manifesting in that way. It's just obviously everybody's different.
I guess I'd ask the question and say, do you sleep first of all?
I do from last night. I've had, oh, there's a long, long story.
Okay.
I had a back injury and I've
Okay.
been having to wake up in the middle of the night to take a painkiller because else I wake up with pain. But yeah, last night I didn't and it was amazing.
Awesome. Yeah. So you fight, and then when you woke up this morning, you were like, oh, I feel a bit more energized,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah,
So yeah, so that and that's the thing. The beauty of what you said was that everyone comes in with a slightly different angle. So like you said, you forget to eat. I think a lot of women as well, you just get so wrapped up in the day. Sometimes I message a client, and be like, tell me what you had for lunch. And they'll be like, well, you see, there was this meeting, that meeting, and I had to call this, and then the cat set fire to the house. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, go and have some lunch. Because yeah, you need time and you need peace to relax, recover. You don't need to be on all hours of the day.
Yeah, that's true. One thing that made me sort of chuckle a wee bit was when you talked about like tidying the house and the Queen coming. Me, how my ADHD manifests and presents itself is in clutter and mess. So I am definitely not an over cleaner. But what I do is I get the house isn't dirty, but it's not spick and span, if that makes sense. But what I do then is I allow the clutter to build up, and then I lie in bed at night mentally beating myself up for the fact that the house is such a mess. So like you're trapped in this cycle. So even though I'm not a frantic like OCD cleaner, the fact that it's not clean is doing me just as much damage as if I was cleaning to all hours. If that makes sense. So
yeah.
it's yeah, it's
I mean, we've actually spoken about this, Sarah, haven't we? We've said that you can actually tell how good our brains are, how happy they are, maybe
balanced.
about
Yeah,
yeah, balance. That's better.
yeah, yeah.
If you look at the state of our desks.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. My two telltale signs are my desk and my nails, my fingernails.
Same.
My fingernails are nice length, means I've been in a good place for a while. If they're like short to the stump almost, things aren't good.
And that's why I think sleep's so important. Like,
Uh,
your brain relies on rest.
yeah.
And as you ladies say, look, once you're rested, then a lot of other things tend to calm down a little bit for you. They might not be perfect. We get that. But we're not aiming for perfection here. We're aiming for good, or what you can do rather than you having to be perfect. Because I think that's another big thing. ADHD is like this perfection thing. I think women have it in society generally anyway, but it might be more amplified. Tell me if I'm wrong. And it's this trying to let go of the perfection a little bit and be like, okay, I can do this much and it's going to be good enough. It's
That
okay.
that makes so much sense. But I think after after I realized I was ADHD before I was even diagnosed, um, I only then started giving myself space. I only then stopped beating myself up, and I was like, wait a minute, it's not my fault. There was no, the blame was almost taken away from me. I was like, there is a reason behind this.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of I give myself a bit of space, give myself a little bit of grace as well to actually kind of be myself.
Mhm.
And
That's
and
really funny, Donna, when you say that actually, because I don't beat myself up every day and get frustrated because I need my wheelchair, but I do get frustrated that my brain doesn't do what I want it to do. So
Mhm.
how can I like be okay with one limitation but not the other? It's bizarre. It's a dichotomy that is me.
You're just human, as
Yeah.
far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. It's
Yeah.
just the human condition, right?
Yeah.
You know, humans are funny. We have one thing really good, but then we want the other thing, and when that's just human as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Just actually on the topic of eating or forgetting to eat, or well, actually, yeah, forgetting to eat, because it's quite a topical one for us. Would you have any tips in terms of, I think I'm quite lucky in that I have small kids, so we have to have a level of structure and like
Hmm.
they're constantly hungry anyway, but we have to eat at certain times or otherwise my 4-year-old will literally march us into the kitchen and be like, cook. He will demand his dinner. So that's good because like he's my alarm, my reminder to cook and eat. But for anybody who doesn't have that alarm, would you have any tips in terms of over and above setting a physical alarm?
Mhm.
Would you have any tips for how to make sure that we're getting adequate nutrition on busy days?
Yeah. So first thing I'd say is obviously kidnap Sarah's 4-year-old. That seems like sorted, right? So yeah, you mentioned about using an alarm, and I actually think that's still an underrated tip because most of the things that are important to you, doctor's appointments, all the rest of it, go into your calendar. So the first thing I'd actually take a step back and say, well, first you've got to acknowledge that you're important. Because if you don't acknowledge that you're important, then you're not going to do anything I tell you to do anyway.
Mic drop.
I can give you all the tips.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think number one is you have to decide that you're important. And I'll give you a quick tip and a way to do this. There's something I do in my programs called a superhero identity. And the easy way to use it is to describe it as this: Superman, right? Everyone knows Superman. You got Clark Kent and you've got Superman. They are the same person, but who would you trust to save the world? Not Clark Kent. That's the same person. So one of the things I do is I get clients to create that superhero version of themselves. And when they talk about how important they are, what they do for themselves, how they look after themselves, how they see the world, etc. So once you kind of got the identity pieces, I'm important. Then you can start laying the kind of the process and the structure that you might need to do that. So then number one, you have an alarm. Number two is actually planning food because I think it takes away from the, oh my God, I've got off a Zoom call. I've got a Zoom call in 20 minutes. What am I going to eat?
Yeah.
That makes a lot of
Um,
sense.
yeah, and it's such a simple thing, but sitting down with the family 1 day a week and going, right, what are we going to eat for the rest of the week? So we know what to shop, how to get stuff is massively important. And also getting the family involved means that you're supported in it. Because then if you skip a meal and if you've got family or support, they're going to be like, hey, you haven't eaten the thing you said you were with this in the fridge, go get it. And often the more you have the food ready-ish, then it's much easier to make sure you've got time to make it or just zap it in the microwave or whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
So I think creating as much structure as possible. Also saying no to people. Because I guarantee that a lot of you, why are you laughing, Sarah?
Yeah, that's a word that we struggle with, isn't it, Donna?
We're getting
No,
better. We're slowly getting better.
it's a practice, right? It's a practice. We're all getting better at something, so it's all good. Yeah, if you value your health and your ability to function and run your businesses or whatever you do, then rest is important. Eating is part of rest. So
Hmm.
you have to decide that you're going to have buffer times in your calendar where you don't book Zoom calls. You're not doing something externally, you're doing something internally.
You're not just gulping down noodles.
Exactly.
Who's calling who out now?
Hold on, is there something I should know about, right?
Yeah.
Me
Although
telling Sarah
I
to
was
take
good because
time to eat noodles,
yeah,
and
I
then
was
she
good
comes
because
on.
I said I wanted to eat before we started recording because I knew that I wouldn't have much time after. So I was like, I'm gonna
Yeah.
eat.
I mean, even then, you could have said to me, hey, Greg, look, I'm really haven't eaten. If you'd messaged me and said, Greg, I haven't eaten, I would have been like, let's put this back half an hour and go eat.
No,
Oh,
I didn't because
it
we,
wasn't
we,
it
we were
wasn't
on it
today.
Oh,
earlier. So,
okay. But just generally, that's what I mean though, is that conversation with people saying, hey, I haven't eaten, I'm gonna eat first. Most people will understand and give yourself permission to do that.
yeah.
I suppose it's just like advocating for yourself, but it's in a different way, in a more, I suppose, more fundamental way.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
What the pivotal one for me, and I love when you talked about hero identity because it really she came back in full vision for me when we talked, Greg, and I decided in that moment that I'm going to live till I'm 100 years old, and that my current patterns at that moment were not conducive to me living till I was 100 years old, and then I did a meditation about the next day or a couple of days after our session and I met my 100-year-old self. So now every time that I do something or I am on the brink of making a decision that might push me away from my goal, she comes up and she's like, is this a good choice or a bad choice? And she keeps me on track. So my superhero is 100-year-old version of myself, which is I just love that. But you were very connected and like literally I tell people, don't I, Donna? I'm gonna live till I'm 100, so I'm
Hmm.
not even halfway through my life yet and like I've really latched onto that identity now and it definitely helps me to make better choices. I'm not perfect by any means, but as you say, perfection doesn't exist, but I'm a lot closer to living for another 60 years than I was before we met. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part is like who are you being?
Hmm.
You know, who is the best version of you and what would that person do? I just like you, Sarah, I'm like, I want to be a ninja at 90. I want to be able to
Yeah.
wrestle my son.
Yeah.
So yeah, it means I can have some chocolate biscuits. Of course it does. What it does mean is I can't have too many.
Yeah.
It
Not
also
every
means
day.
like, yeah, I can't do it every day. It means I have to go to the gym and do stuff because my son will kick my ass when I'm 90, and that's not happening. I refuse.
Yeah.
I refuse to lose. So yeah, I think having that identity that gets your emotions going and really you can
Mhm.
bed into is massively important.
For sure.
Massively.
And that's what I said about like I think meeting you and working with you has been a huge caveat to me now being 42 and pregnant. Is like I was really on the brink of menopause, like I'm getting old, my body's shutting down. This is all like it's a downward spiral. And I was like, no, it's only a downward spiral if I allow that to be the case. I am fully in control of what I do, choices I make, how I treat my body, how I respect my body, and it flips it completely on its head to completely different level of chaos. But like, I never thought what they reckon statistically it's like a 5% chance or something of getting pregnant over the age of 40,
Oh
and I'm
wow.
like, oh, okay. But it just shows like when you embrace something and you go, that is no longer my reality. This is now. Anything's possible.
I love the fact that it flipped it so quickly as well. Like you were
Yeah.
so adamant that you had menopause symptoms.
Uh-huh.
You were like, this is what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you had the second pregnancy test, not the first one,
Yeah.
it just suddenly flipped and suddenly you've got pregnancy symptoms. It's absolutely
Yeah.
incredible, the power of the mind.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was drinking a cup of coffee and I was like, yeah, I'm not pregnant, not pregnant. Did the second test because I thought the first one was faulty. I was like, this can't be. Got a second one, did the second test, went back to my cup of coffee and I was like, couldn't stomach it. Then like instantly my body was just repulsed by the coffee, the same coffee that I was enjoying before. It's just like it's crazy. The power of the mind is crazy, but in a really good way.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, right? Like after our conversation, you also immersed yourself. So I think there's a really big thing about immersion.
Mhm.
Like if you're gonna do something, try and immerse yourself in it as best as possible.
Mhm.
And you would message me, you were messaging me for like a week after, you like,
Mhm.
this is I'm doing this, I'm doing this. Yeah, because you can't have the identity without the action. Like you know Superman or Supergirl flies. If
Yeah.
they didn't, they're not Superman or Supergirl. So you have to do the things that align with that identity. Simple as that.
Yeah.
And you can't without it.
First thing I did after our chat was go and buy a new mattress because I knew that my mattress was a huge part of the reason why I wasn't sleeping well. So I
Mm-hmm.
fully took on board your advice and was like, I'm gonna purchase a new mattress. Or prior, I've been telling myself that there was other more important things to spend the money on. But no, after our chat, I was like, I need to do this because nothing's going to change if nothing changes, and it changed everything.
Yeah, because you put you first. And I think that's the big thing, right? It's like, ladies, if I asked you, when was the last time you said, right, I'm gonna go for a spa day, I'm gonna go for a massage, I'm gonna do things that are go on, Donna,
Yesterday.
doing that. But for the ladies listening, when was the last time you did all of these things and you put them in with intent?
Yeah, I don't. I do. I book things in for my husband, for my kids, but I don't for myself.
Yeah.
I think mine was a bit pushed as well because as I said, I've been having lots of problems with my back
Mhm.
since last June, maybe May, I think. Whenever it was, I tried to do a garden thing that I probably shouldn't have.
Ouch.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been having lots of problems, but I had heard from about five different people about the same woman who does Zentai Shiatsu body
Hmm.
work. And I was like, right, loads of different people within the space of 2 weeks have told me about her. I need to do this. So I did, and all I can say is wow. I actually don't have any words for that. It was absolutely incredible, and it was I would go and do it again.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, right? Is now that you know the power of that, it's like, right, I'm gonna make that part of my routine.
Hmm. Hmm.
To know I need it and I deserve it.
Yes, that is a huge thing actually, because sometimes, I mean, I think I've booked things in before and I'm like, oh, I'm doing this because other people think I should. And I don't really, I don't really take it in. I don't really take it on me. And I'm like, actually, I didn't feel like that at all when I was booking it, when I was, going to it yesterday. It was all like, no, I need this and this is going to be good for me. And which I've not actually thought about. But yeah, that's how I approached that.
Mm. Yeah. So I think if you do these things and be like, I deserve this. I'm good. I am worthy of this. And also the other areas of your life will benefit the most. Everything. Your brain will function better, your body will function better. And I think there's a big thing as well as that we can't separate the body from the brain. We always try. It's really weird. I don't know why we try and do this in the world. I'm like, mental health over here, physical health over there. I'm like, they're talking to the brain is talking to the body, and the body's talking to the brain daily. Why are we trying to cut them off at the neck? It doesn't make sense to me. And so when you're slept, you're rested, you're nourished, your brain operates better. I think the more time you can, or the more, it's not even more time, the more intent you can do with treating your health better, then you'll see it come out in other areas of like how your mind performs, your brain performs, your work performance, your relationships. You might not be as snappy, you might end up getting pregnant. Um, all of those things become better.
It is, and you're right. Like I've always been a huge advocate of mental health, but I was living completely out of body, and now that since you have me see that you can't separate the two, they're both you can't unsee it once you realize and make that connection, and then everything you do, be it sleep, eat, you see that it's all symbiotic and it's all like, and you can't not be more conscious of the choices that you're making then.
Yeah, I think growing up seeing, my parents are from Jamaica, so there was this whole thing about the strong black woman, always the
Mhm.
thing. So, and I'd be like, but my mum's always in pain, her knee always hurts. So yes, she might have resilience and stuff from experiences, but her body's not resilient. So are we really strong? And I think you can only be strong if the two are working in sync together.
And in my personal experience as well, when I was living out of body, my body was fighting against me. I was in chronic pain 24/7 because
Mhm.
my mind wouldn't acknowledge what my body was trying to tell it.
Yeah, and I think that's a really big thing, and is that some of these things take time to get better.
Mm. Hmm.
We get so enamored with the Amazon Prime mindset, like I did this, so it must be fixed now, kind of
Yeah.
thing. I pressed a button, so I want my parcel now, kind of thing. Um, we are terrible at doing that, but I think, yeah, sometimes we just have to say, this is how I'm going to be, and then
Mhm.
the things come after. So everything's a lag indicator, I say. You know,
Okay.
it's not like you don't always get the immediate response. Sometimes you do the thing, And then later on, the sleep or whatever, the better eating, the weight, whatever it is, comes afterwards. And I think if we looked at what we were actually doing rather than the outcome, sometimes the outcome comes automatically.
Yeah, it can be quite difficult though. Just going back to my back issues, like I tweaked my back ridiculously at the end of January. That's when it became an extreme problem. Like I can't even bend down and pick things off the floor. It was ridiculous. My husband had to put my socks on for me for 2 days. It was that ridiculous. Although that was hilarious, but hey. Yeah, it's difficult when you've got that level of discomfort. It wasn't always pain. Um, to actually see yourself improving because you're in your body all the time, so you don't see that improvement. So what was really useful for me was actually because I do yoga once a week. And I
Hmm.
go to a studio to do that. And my yoga teacher was actually giving me feedback at the end and saying she's seeing improvement, and what area she's seeing improvement in as well. So I find that that was really, really good and it kind of kept me going as well because I personally wasn't seeing any.
Hmm. You know what? That's such a really, I was having this very same conversation this morning with a client, and sometimes the issue is we don't track the data, whether that be the right numbers to track or seeking feedback. Like your yoga teacher said, hey, looks like your downward dog's getting better, whatever, your hamstrings are getting more flexible. Sometimes we don't track the data. So we rely on our feelings more than the data.
Hmm.
Um, and that's one of the big things I say to clients is like, look, I know you might feel this way, that the feeling is often temporary. Let's look at what the data says as well. So we can put the two together and then decide what to do next rather than it's not working, I'm done. Um, which is what humans tend to do, right? We tend to react to the feeling rather than let's look at the data and what's actually happening.
Hmm.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I should do some yoga, actually.
Yes, yoga has changed how I feel in my body, so that's good. Although it's having the regression because of my back issues a little bit. It was difficult at first, and actually, initially when I had the when I did the garden, the start of the whole thing, when I had the issue in the garden, um, I actually can't well pause my yoga for like 2 months, and I noticed my mental health was getting worse and everything like that. So I ended up getting back in touch with my yoga teacher. I'm like, I need to come back, help. And she helped, any good yoga teacher would help you out. So she was really, really good with that. So that's why this time I didn't cancel, even though it was even worse. And I was like, I'm literally like a beginner now. Just it'll be fine.
And for those of you who are listening to this back, Donna did exactly the perfect thing because I think that's what we do is we go, it's not working or I can't do it, so I'll stop rather than going, okay, what can I do?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because sometimes even just going to the class to watch means that you're in it.
Mhm.
Things like you're actually rather than sitting and wallowing. And I think, humans are very good at sitting and wallowing.
Mhm.
But Donna, you did the right thing. Like get back on touch and get back on it.
I think also having her watching and she's aware of what I've done and the issues, I also feel safer to push myself a little bit more than I would if I was doing it by myself.
Hmm.
So yeah, it kind of gives me like a safe, almost like a safe environment as well, which is nice.
We are our pride and all manner of things, the stories we tell ourselves. So I always say to clients, like, you have facts and you have stories. We love a story. And the story is always dramatic and has lots of describing words, doesn't it? Right? Or words that are very subjective, and then we've got the facts, and the facts. When we start to lean into the facts, actually, the facts give us more power because generally we can change that. And yeah, in Donna's case, like, okay, I'm gonna just go and get help and take action rather than, oh my God, I'll never be able to do yoga again. That's what we all do. We all
I
do.
mean, that was exactly what I did,
Mm.
as I said, last year, and it definitely didn't help me. And I was like, I'm not getting back into that. There's no point. It didn't improve anything. So we're not doing that this time.
That's where you're a much more evolved human than me, Donna. What do I do every time things go Pete Tong on me? What do I do? Hide. Complete ostrich syndrome activated. Hide and don't communicate with anybody. Don't ask for help. every time, every time. Although the good
So
thing is now I've called it out to people like you, and you can pull me back out of it quicker. Because I used to disappear for months sometimes, like literally disappear for months, and just be like, I just can't, and yeah, it just got worse and worse and worse every time. So
Yeah, we can create stories in our head that, oh, the world's watching, I'm embarrassed, blah, blah, blah.
yeah,
And the thing I always find that helps people the most is that it's like this, right? You can fall off the wagon in your business, your career, your relationship, whatever, but it's how quickly you get back to it that actually makes successful people in anything. You have a bit of a blowout with some food, and then you go, oh, I'll start Monday. And then Monday becomes Tuesday, and then Tuesday becomes Thursday, and then and then it goes on. Before you know it, it's 6 weeks, and then it's 6 months. But it's like, okay, yeah, I had a bit of a blowout. Awesome. Tomorrow morning, I'm gonna make sure that I'm nourished from my next meal. And
I
once you
always wondered what the power of the Monday was. Like you could say that on Tuesday, I'll start again on Monday. Hang on, there's a whole other week. Like what's about Monday? It's so special. Yeah,
we're very conditioned about around the days of the week, aren't we? Like
yeah,
Monday, because of the weekend is like YOLO time. I can party, I can do whatever I want. And then Monday is like serious time. So then it psychologically, we've just got this thing with Monday. Monday, I'm gonna do it until Monday goes past. It gets to about 12 o'clock on Monday, and then you're like, I'll start next Monday. Next Monday. Like we've had these, we've all done it at some point. I think I've done it. We've all done it at some point. I'll definitely, but it's past 12 o'clock. It's always halfway through the day. I'll start Monday. Yeah.
yeah.
But you can start any day, at any time. Like start now.
Never mind any day. The next meal is an opportunity to make a better choice.
Exactly that. That next meal. Yeah. So, and I'm not one of these people who's also like, you can't eat a chocolate biscuit ever again. I find the ultra restriction normally backfires the other way very quickly. So yeah, it comes back down to the identity. It's like, who do I want to be? Does that identity say to me, you can have 3 or 4 biscuits, or do I need to eat the whole pack? That's the question.
Yeah. Donna, I'd love to know what your biggest takeaway from this conversation is, because I have to.
you go first. Let me think.
After you, go after you. After you.
My biggest takeaways from this is when you said the decision that you are important, and that is the pivotal moment, is the decision that you are important and that you deserve to have a body and a mind that are in congruence and fully vital for life. That is huge, more so than any other practical tip. And I can't remember what the second one is now. I'll have to think about it. Come back to me.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I need more processing time. Here we go. I'm advocating for myself because, yeah, I need to. I've always had problems kind of answering questions like that at the end of something or even asking sometimes.
Mhm.
So I do need more processing time. So yes, I appreciate all the insights and all the everything you've offered us today, even calling us out a little bit.
With love, of course, with love.
Of course, of course. So yes, Sarah, has it come to you yet?
It hasn't, it's gone. Yeah,
That's
so
okay.
That's
That's
okay.
okay.
All good.
yeah,
It happens.
yeah.
It's all gravy. It's all gravy.
And when I listen back, I'm like, that's it. That was the one.
Yeah, then you just get on Zoom and then record the last bit and
Yeah,
Yeah,
together.
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
fine. It's fine. Don't
Fine.
worry
And,
about it.
and I think that would be my biggest takeaway right there is that not everything has to be perfect, and we're going to forget things. We're going to not have it all clued together in our heads. Just to let yourself time.
Hmm.
There's no rush. What's the rush?
Yeah, we're gonna be here for another 60 years at least, so it's all good.
That's what I was just thinking. I was like, Sarah, you
Yeah,
got heaps of time. You're fine.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, he's got time.
We all will. We'll
Come
all
back
be
to
here as 100-year-olds.
come back to me in 20 years with your other takeaway. You'll be all
Yes.
good.
Greg, just how can everybody listening, if they want to work with you or connect with you further, where can they find you?
So find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, just Greg Fearon. I do have a podcast which I am restarting as well, called a $1 Million Body Podcast. And the key of that is is not necessarily just the aesthetic. Although there is nothing wrong. If you want to look hot, you should want to look hot, and that's entirely up to you. Like we do this thing where we're like, oh, it's not about the look, and I'm like, let's not lie to ourselves. Like, tell yourself the truth. If you want to look hot in a dress or whatever, just say you want to look hot. But also, as I said earlier, like you should feel like $1 million as well. And that's not necessarily about the weight, it's how you function, how you live, etc.
We'll get the links from you and we can put them in the show notes so
Yeah,
people can get access to that. That's not a problem.
awesome. So that's it. That's how you can.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank
Being
you for having me, ladies.
as always, thank you.
Thank
Sharing your
you.
wisdom.
Yeah,
Yes.
I have little bits here and there. So yeah.
Quite a few bits.
Can't believe, Sarah, you've been gatekeeping. You need
I know, I know,
to...
I know. Sarah, how have you not introduced me to Don? Hmm?
I know. I really, I don't. It's when you messaged me, I was like, how did I not instantly think of this when we were thinking of guests? Like,
So we are coming to you from the future. Not really the future, but on a different day. And this is because, as mentioned in the previous episode, it's a different day. I keep thinking previous episode. That I need some time to process the information to formulate a takeaway. And with that, I have actually come to my takeaway conclusion now. And Sarah, have you had time to have a think at what your second takeaway was?
I absolutely have. And first of all, before I do that, I want to commend you for your self-advocacy and for being able to say, look, I need some time. So well done for that. And I think it's very important that we demonstrate that and lead from the front with what we're trying to create. So well done.
We have cultivated the relationship that we are comfortable with each other, and able to voice these needs as well. So
Yeah,
there,
100%.
that's yeah,
But it's really important, I think, that we showcase that where we can rather than just doing it behind the scenes because
yeah, yeah,
there's no point of
definitely.
this.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's one of the reasons why I really wanted to keep that in as well and not just like kind of showcase a big polished thing that actually no, this is what happened because this is how my brain works. So my biggest takeaway from speaking to Greg was actually thinking about your future self. Now, I've always been aware and actually sort of gone, I'll do something and go, oh, my future self will not thank me for that, or, my future self will thank me for that, either or. But because I didn't, and I actually still haven't sat down and thought about it enough, have an actual picture, a solid, concrete thing of what my future self, what I would like to aim for, I actually have done some self-sabotage things because I think because I don't have that. Like just take for example, and this is very apt, after speaking to Greg, I actually used to beat myself up for like a perceived that I put on weight. Now I might not have put on weight. I've never used scales or anything like that, but I think this is my brain thing, and it kind of contributed to sort of I had a lot of problems with eating. So I never used scales or anything like that. So it was definitely a self-perception thing. But then I would just not eat for a few days, which is not good for anybody. But that was with the idea of, oh, my future self will be happier because I won't have this perceived extra weight. I'll have lost this. But if I actually had a more well-rounded kind of idea of that, or as Greg was saying, like the whole superhero thing, or with
Yeah.
you and wanting to live till you're 100, which is just I'm like, can I steal Sarah's idea?
Yeah, that's it. I'm not living to 100 on my own. You got to join
Oh,
me.
right,
So,
okay, okay. But yeah, so just having that, I think that that cultivates kind of compassion and giving yourself space. And actually, dare I say it sounds maybe a bit cheesy, like self-love as well.
100%.
You do it for a different reason. Yeah.
And I mean, that goes back to what Greg said as well about just the acknowledgement that you are important and that you matter.
Hmm.
Like that is huge. That's fundamental to everything.
Hmm.
Because you wouldn't, like, I wouldn't starve my children. I wouldn't
Hmm.
starve my husband. But somehow in my brain, it's okay for me to either not eat or overeat myself. Like, and it's just giving ourselves the same love and compassion that we do to other people. is fundamental to everything.
So yeah, it's that reframe. I mean, as I said, I've heard similar before, but it's not landed to that extent
Yeah,
until until he described it that way. So that was really, really great. So thank you, Greg.
love that. Yeah, so just to recap, my initial takeaway was, as I say, that whole thing of, you are important. And it's something that I share with a lot of my clients, but it was really having it reflected back to me is really powerful, through his eyes and saying, you matter and you matter just as much as everybody else who you care about in your life. That's huge for me. And the other one that really stood out to me was when he talked about the congruence between mind and body. Like resilience is one of my kind of brand values, like mental resilience and being able to reframe things and see the positive in things, put a positive slant on things, and not subscribe to limiting beliefs. However, my body doesn't always reflect that, and a strong mind is nothing without a strong body. So it really brought home to me that there needs to be that synergy and that congruence between your mental strength and your physical strength, and sleep and nutrition are key parts of that, and hydration as well. Hydration is probably the biggest one for me, that kind of falls by the wayside.
Mm,
So yeah, it really having that whole thing of a strong mind is nothing without a strong body really
mm.
hit home for me. Thank you so much, Greg, for giving us such a powerful reminder of how precious our physical vessels are.
Thank you so much for listening. You can find us across on threads at ADHT the podcast, Instagram as well, same handle, and you can find me on and I've what's happening? Everything's falling out my head. You can find me on Unravel Tea on threads and also Instagram. And you can find Sarah on It's Willy Mama TikTok. And if you have any comments or anything, any questions, let us know and we will answer them, or we will do our best to answer them. We will be back in your ears next week. Thank you.
Bye. So it's been brought to my attention that I may have caused offence by choosing to call pillboxes old people pillboxes. So I sincerely apologise to anyone who was offended by that. And I have been reliably informed that the correct terminology is a Dosset box. So thank you very much.
Well, it's Dosset Box in Scotland. I was just thinking it might be something else elsewhere. So we'll go with that.
I have literally no idea. But yes, thank you. Thank you for calling me out, and I value the opportunity to correct myself.